Hi there, and welcome. My name is Steve Jones, and I represent Pinnacle Shift. What is Pinnacle Shift? Well, Pinnacle Shift is essentially me. I am Pinnacle Shift. All right. Uh, so I retired from the Air Force in 2010, and I got into manufacturing. I'd saved the Air Force $83 million dollars a year on a couple projects. And when I got into manufacturing, what I realized pretty quickly is that my skill set in the military wasn't exactly where my gifts and talents lie. I was very good at building teams and great teams, building team cohesion, being an instructor and evaluator and different across a myriad of things. I'd been a recruiter before, so I've done some sales. But what I found was that I excelled at improving organizational performance, whether that meant the team portion of it, whether that was the processes and procedures and the operational functionality. And of course, that stems into quality and customer care and all the things, right? And once I got into the civilian world, I started to work, in the different departments and learning different things and improving organization after organization everywhere I went. Obviously, I was struck out on my own to do my own consulting. And what I've learned over the years really culminated in what now is Pinnacle Shift. Just about 2021, I did a bit of a reset like we all did. And I stepped back and looked at the landscape of organizational culture. And the thing that leapt out at me pretty, intensely was that we weren't really addressing the underlying root causes of much of what ails organizations, right? We were dealing with so much of the surface symptoms, right? Poor quality is a symptom. Low productivity or struggling productivity is a symptom. Turnover is a symptom. All of the things that you see showing up in your key performance indicators are essentially symptoms of deeper issues, right? And really, the broad piece of this is the organizational culture. But even that is a bit nebulous to just say, right? There's so many underlying things. And so what I did is I did a deep dive into asking myself, really, how have I been so successful in helping organizations improve rapidly and for them to continue on with that sustainability where other organizations were struggling? Even organizations who are using expensive firms and outside consultants from that side of the house to address issues that they had, doing Kaizen events and obviously using lean methodology, a lot of the bread and butter things that improvement consultants will use, which are great. But again, they deal with the symptoms. They're not dealing with much of the root cause. So when I stepped back, I unwound much of this. And in short, what I was able to do was to, once I unwound it, looked at it in 3 dimensions, spun it around in my virtual space, and I was able to basically key in on some components that were really drivers to organizations who were healthy and those who weren't healthy, right? And now the indicators, key performance indicators like your sales and your productivity and your quality and all these things, because they are symptoms of the root cause of the poor organizational culture, when you improve that, then what do you begin to see? Improved key performance indicators, higher productivity, better quality, and so on and so forth, less turnover, and onward we go. The sustainability was a little bit trickier to deal with, right? So, long story short, unraveling it and re-raveling it, rewinding the DNA of what I've put together, and grabbing these essentials of what's needed for improvement, essentials of what we need to know to delve into to improve our team cohesion and the overall organizational culture. I rewound that DNA of organizations, and that culminated in the book, The Journey to Transform Culture, which was on the intro. You probably noticed that. And I compiled that book, and let me tell you, folks, I packed the entire kitchen sink of 100 blocks of kitchens into that thing. Okay, I packed everything into that, and we went places that a lot of many leaders are afraid to go. A lot of teams are afraid to go, but folks, that's just what we have to do. We have to dive into those areas if we're to improve our organizational cultures to what? Best serve our customers. And why? Because who is not a member of our customers, right? Our significant others, our family, our friends, our community, our end users of product and service. Who is not our customer, right? Everyone is our customer. So then that really is the genesis of why and how this kind of came about. Now, this journey for me to not only put the book together, but all the research and everything I did, not only my experiential, but also some other areas, to be able to assemble the DNA of improved organizational culture, went into the book, obviously, but I also packed it into what I do personally, right? Personally, professionally, for Pinnacle Shift. And that is to go in and to help facilitate with your leadership team and your broader team improvements, right? You don't need somebody in there forever, right? You don't need folks, you don't need to bring in expensive firms. And that's the other element of this is I bring in a cost-effective approach. Because look, folks, we've got, and I'll just use manufacturing because they're small groups, but they're suppliers to just about every sector as third and fourth tier suppliers on up. There's over 85,000 sites in the United States alone, right? Now, what do you think if I was to go site to site? It would take me, 150, 200 lifetimes to even begin to scratch the surface of being able to help these organizations. Again, another motivator for putting the book together. But that's really not enough. So while I put the book together and while I'm also available to do projects for organizations, it's also essential that we replicate this. It's not enough for me to know how to do all this. It's not enough for you to get the bits and bytes that you've gotten through some of these videos. But it would be enough for you to be able to replicate this through your multiple sites. And then for us to, because keep in mind, folks, this isn't just for manufacturing. This could be manufacturing. This could be the medical side of the house. You have insurance. You have all kinds of other small businesses, a myriad of those. And, and the list goes on. There are so many small businesses, small, medium, and not large, right? That they can't afford expensive firms. And that is an essential aspect of what I do. You shouldn't have to. The goal here isn't to make you dependent on me. The goal is to make you self-sufficient to be able to do all of these things for you, your team, and if you're the team watching this, for your leadership team, for the broader team, the support staff, onward and onward and onward. To be self-sufficient. If you needed to see me more than the one time you did see me for my program, then I probably did something wrong, right? I probably did something wrong because the idea is to empower you to be able to take the ball and run with it, and then to replicate that, and then to use the system for you, right? Now, I'm not selling the system as it stands right now because that would be kind of silly at this point. It really would require training, and it really requires to experience it. And while I work on mechanisms to be able to deploy this in a larger scale, and obviously I'm open to those who want to partner in such endeavors. But in the meantime, take the bits and bytes that I give you in some of these videos, because we do touch on a lot of areas, right? We touch a lot in the behavioral side of the house, because we really have to, folks. We really have to question how we work, how we cooperate, how we collaborate, right? How we communicate. All these things are vital. And anyway, so I just want to invite you to seek me out for your organization. If you're a broader team member and things are just eating away at you, that's your yellow or red flag that you know you need some assistance, right? And keep this in mind. I'm quite affordable. I'm not going to charge you what large firms would charge you, okay, to come in to help your organization. My model is different. I'm a sole individual doing this as a professional service, right? I don't have a big building to pay for, and I don't have an armada of team members who are just sitting back in the wings doing functional work. So I can give you the service very cost effectively relative to large firms. Really, for what I charge, most firms could barely spend a day or two in your at your site. All of that being said, I'm also available to speak to your organization. So if you have sites that, let's say you have a site or two, or it doesn't matter, whatever your situation, and you need somebody to come out there and you want somebody to address some of these things, yeah, I could come out, visit your site, see your operation, talk to your team, and then and possibly share some ideas and some thoughts based on what I observe. Very short version of the broader system that I put into place. That being said, the broader system does include events, right? So I do Kaizen events and others. But keep in mind, I guess if you want to couch it in this way, I'm really the Bruce Lee of improvement for optimizing organizations. I'm not going to teach you how to do a whole lot of things that don't matter, right? We don't need to create a large bureaucracy. A system doesn't need to be a large bureaucracy that creates a feudal rank structure, right? That obfuscates responsibility. No, you should be one with your team, the leadership and the team. Now, oftentimes we'll address, those separately, because there are elements that either have to deal with, right? And so sometimes we do have to speak to the broader team, and sometimes we do need to address the leadership and support functions. But what it comes down to is just one team. You're just one team. So just want to encourage you to take hope, to watch these videos, glean from them what you will to help your organization, maybe for your lunch and learns and some of your informal trainings. And then reach out. PinnacleShift.com. Pretty simple, pretty easy to get to, and that'll kind of give you a little bit more background and so forth. Remember, just like with all these videos, by doing this, what are we doing? We're hitting the good green domino 3 to 5 times a day to uplift, motivate, inspire, and encourage folks, right? We want to grow the organizational culture into a healthy state. When we do these positive efforts, what are we doing? We're helping to transform culture. And then as leaders and team members, we're transforming ourselves. And all of us should want to transform, improve, and grow ever thriving, more and more thriving lives, right? That should be a motivator for you and your broader team. Unless you're a team member, then for you and your leadership. And if you're struggling and you're frustrated, look up the book, take a gander at it, maybe offer up these YouTube videos to perhaps your leadership team. Let them kind of, look it over and get a feel, and then reach out if you so choose. And then we can go from there. All right, folks, hope you're having a fantastic day. Take care. Hit like, share, and subscribe on the video here. And until next time, We'll talk to you later.